Dr. Umar just figured out what the delineation movement is. Yeah. Lord. After years of being the prince of Pan-Africanism, a movement that has seen better days, let's just say, Dr. Umar has been hustling the idea of building a school for Pan-Africanism for quite a while. I heard somebody say that one of the mothers that donated to the school, her son is now a grown man. When he started, he was elementary school age. Let that sink in. But so instead of Dr. Umar Johnson bringing something to foundational Black Americans or American descendants of slavery, Dr. Umar Johnson just launched a new movement. It's called DAFA, Descendants of African Freedmen in America. No members, no policy, no platform, no research, just a new acronym and the confidence of a man who has never once been told to sit the F down and read the effing room.
ADOS FBA. Respectfully, I'm going to go with both groups because they represent basically the same thing, but there are differences, right? So ADOS.
Which is a descendant of slavery.
No, they're first. FBA comes later.
Okay.
Okay, but they both exist. FBA is more popular, right?
Okay.
ADOS FBA. I don't have a problem with the American African people seeing the need to make it clear to other branches of the global African family that when you come here, you need to be clear that we built the house and rolled out the carpet for you. Be respectful in my home the same way you would want for me to be respectful in your home. So the concept of that American African identity, I have no issue with it. It needs to be done. It needs to be said. This is not new. What is new about it is the adversarial stance that they are taking towards African immigrants who come here from the diaspora, and the energy that they give them, the negative energy that they give them, which supersedes the negative energy you give to the white man who enslaved you then and oppresses you now. Nothing a
Instead
Caribbean,
of trying to
Central South American African immigrant can do to me that can exceed what the white man has done to me. So why is it I can have so much vitriol, hatred, disrespect, animosity towards someone who looks like me just because they came from another place, when the white man who's responsible for my hell here, I'm never giving him half that energy. And then on top of that, it's contradictory in this way. You still identify with the white man. You are a Black American? Since when? So you'll call yourself an American, but you'll never call yourself an African. Think about that now. After all I've been through in this country, I'm still going to wave their flag. After all I've been through in this country, I'm still going to use their colors. After everything I've been through in this country, I'm still going to identify with the plantation and call myself an American.
And the problem is when he speaks, people actually listen to him. He was on the It's Up There podcast with Loon, and they had this conversation. Of course, the clips went viral. Of course, when people who have actually been doing this work for years successively actually took offense to the fact that Umar could so breezily just kind of sweep in and talk about he has the solution that's right for Black Americans.
I'm going to say this as a Pan-Africanist, because we invented the reparations fight. It don't come from FBA. It don't come from ADOS. This was around before they were born. You feel me? Yes. Pan-Africanists gave birth to it. Reparations for me is not about different groups and sects of the race fighting for their crumb off the big pie. This should be one fight, one reparation. Do you feel me, Loon? We can split it up how we want to split it up after we get it. But by you fighting divided for the same restitution, you playing right into the hands of your enemy. There was one slavery, took some of us to the Caribbean. There was one slavery, took some of us to the Americas. There was one slavery, took some of us to Central and South America, right? But there was one African slavery. So the Africans of the world, from the continent to the British, Canada had slavery, Australia had it, right? We should all come and sit down. Let's fight this together.
See, I think they reject
You
that.
would get it quicker.
Yeah.
You would get more, because guess what? It's a united front. But because we hate each other more than we hate racism, because we hate each other more than we hate racism, I don't want to unite with no black Africans. I don't want to unite with no Caribbeans. And you got Africans saying the same thing. I don't want to unite with no descendants of no slaves, right? I want to fight my own thing. So ECOWAS got their own fight. Black British got their own fight. Canada got their own fight. Black America got their own fight. And it's sectionalized, sectarian.
That's what I'm saying.
Nobody communicating with each other. So the white man going to play his old game of what? Divide and conquer, separate and rule. So I don't have an issue with the American African people having a black agenda for themselves that they need to carry out. It's only when you start criminalizing and antagonizing other Africans as if they're responsible for the condition you in. Person, I got to find somebody and put them beneath me so I can look down on them and mistreat them. And this back and forth between black Africa and black America, a lot of this is victim consciousness. I don't want to be the lowest, so I'm going to victimize and step on the American African. I don't want to be the lowest, so I want to victimize and step on the African immigrant, because in America, we're the lowest.
But let's be clear about what just happened. A man who has built an entire brand around being the so-called smartest person in the room just admitted in the same breath that he doesn't actually understand the movements that he's critiquing. And then he launched into a competing movement without any information. No analysis, just decided he could make a better movement because he felt like it. When you're talking about black people, if you have a loud enough voice, once again, you're allowed to continue, and people are actually going to consider what you have to say. When, with your track record of not completing goals and tasks like building a school for boys, that would end the conversation. Nah. You don't get to butt in at this late date. Sure, you can have opinions on the topic, but why would you come in and then try to hijack momentum that you couldn't build on your own for your own projects, and start to harness that for yourself because you're quote unquote stronger than the other people that are working for this?
But what if it's about,
So I have somebody lower than me because I want to do to somebody else what the white man been doing to me. And we all have that disease. I'm speaking universally. Every African group in the world, because remember now, I've met them all. They always looking for somebody to put under their foot. If I can't beat the white man, let them join them by having somebody under me too.
Black Americans deserve reparations, and if so, who has to play?
Deserve reparations.
So for what happened in America.
Well, remember, slavery happened to the race. That's where we're going to, you see, that's where the disagreements come in. Because slavery didn't happen to black America. Slavery happened to Africans wherever they were taken. What they did to me here is no different than what they did to me in Costa Rica.
But America don't have to pay for that. We saying if America says we're giving reparations for what happened to black people in America, who does that go to?
I disagree. Let me clarify. There is no America until July 4th, 1776. But my ancestors got here under British North American slavery, not the Spanish. They were there first, right? But the Spanish don't control the United States of America, right? Anglo-Saxons do. America was born of the 13 British colonies, right? That was born July 4th, 1776, Loon. So under whose control and dominion were we from 1619 until 1776? The British. Am I wrong? Who Jamaica want reparations from? The British. Do you see where I'm going with this? Yeah. Who Ghana want reparations from? The British. Who Nigeria want reparations from? The British. So for the American African, to your point, Loon, from 1776 until the present, That's the USA. But from 1619 to 1776, that's the British Empire. There's a self-hate aspect to this too. And I know the ADOS FBAs, they're not the pretendians. And I say that respectfully, because at least with the ADOS FBAs, they admit their ancestors came from Africa. They just are of the opinion that that don't matter no more. I don't know how you get there, because as the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said, a people without knowledge of themselves is like a tree without roots. I would love to see an FBA history book for their kids. I would love to see an ADOS FBA history book for children. If they ever build an ADOS FBA school, how are y'all going to treat identity in history? Because y'all cutting yourself off from your root, and you identifying with a man who's trying to get rid of you. That's the weakness of the movement, Loon.
Who is that they're identifying with?
Say that again.
Who is that they are identifying with this triangle?
Americans.
Okay.
Both of them call themselves Americans, both groups. So they're identifying with the plantation.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, yes.
But they're cutting themselves off from the ancestors. You see that? To me, that is the greatest shortcoming of that movement. Ain't nobody taking me from my African roots. I don't give a damn what game y'all want to play, but you ain't doing that. There's spiritual ramifications for that. There's political ramifications for that. There's economic ramifications for that. And let's go political, Loon. Only an idiot will cut themselves off from a meaningful relationship with other nations. You cannot survive in this world without allies. Do you understand me? Especially when you are a numerical minority. How did Cuba survive America? Being 90 miles off the coast, Loon? Because Cuba had Russia, an international ally. The American African people need Africans as allies. We need our Caribbean brothers and sisters as allies. We need our South and Central American brothers and sisters as allies, not enemies.
Yes.
So you mean to tell me you fighting the white man who's an enemy, and I'm going to make an enemy out of all my black brothers and sisters around the world? That is insane. So my movement to counteract the negativity of these movements we're discussing is going to be the DAFA movement. DAFA, descendants of African freedmen in America. Remember, Loon, after freedom came, we were known as what? Freedmen. That was a legal classification. We were the freedmen. My 3 times great-grandfather George fought in the Civil War. My 4 times great-grandfather Steve fought in the Civil War. My cousins Lewis and Charles, the sons of Frederick Douglass, fought in the Civil War. I'm a descendant of freedmen who fought to keep this country from being divided. And we have rights as freedmen, so we're fighting as descendants of African, not no American. You ain't never putting that in no title, no organization of mine. Descendants of African freedmen in America.
I like that. Do you think you're going to get pushback for even launching that?
It don't matter. I'm stronger than both of them groups put together.
But see, there's a little dishonesty that comes with this, because Dr. Umar wants you to believe that this whole conversation is one-sided, that there's purely vitriol coming at the rest of the Pan-African world from FBA, from foundational Black Americans, right? So his pursuit of Pan-Africanism has clouded his vision to the fact that he doesn't understand that there are people on both sides of this that are making it impossible to complete. And he wants to know why there isn't any focus on white supremacy. But he fails to realize that if this fantastical idea of Pan-Africanism was true, there wouldn't be any pushback from other Black groups around the world. And I think the fact that Black Americans have had to field all of this vitriol coming towards them, it stands as an impediment to progress. You understand what I'm saying? So for you to then say that what they're doing is actually what is really holding it back kind of misses the point about the bigger issue, which is reparations, something that they have been researching for years. That's why you can't just butt in at this late date and just decide that you want to take over, decide that you want to become the leader of this.
Okay. Now, with that being said, I do believe that reparations, the debt is lineage specific. So I don't want to remove the point. Like I like how you put it, right? That before America was America, there were the same behavior. Yeah. So, but I think the British should pay for that.
Yes.
Or did you say were the funds transferred
part
to?
of your reparations is coming from who? The British. And if we go 1619, right, to 1719, that's 100 years. And then 1719 to 1776, that's like almost 60. So 160 years of your 250. Guess what? Most of your time in American slavery was under the British, not the Americans. Did you see that?
Yeah.
We just did the math. Most of your time enslaved in America was under the British. Is it not common sense, Loon, to unite with my African brothers and sisters in Ghana, in Malawi, in Nigeria, in Jamaica, in other places around the British Empire who are fighting for the same thing when we are all kith and kin anyway? Does it make sense for me to be at odds with a Jamaican who may very well be my blood cousin? Does it make sense for me to be at odds with a Nigerian who might very well be my blood uncle? Loon, we are fighting with people who may very well be from your same ancestral line. That is ridiculous. And we don't fight white people half as much as we fight each other. And the reason I have to come forward with the Dafa movement is many American Africans who agree with some of what they're hearing, but don't want to be part of the conflict and the division. But they say, I either got to go
it's a lot of that.
I got to go FBA.
Yeah.
Both of them antagonize African immigrants. I don't want the antagonism, but I do understand the need for us because we have a unique history that nobody else has, right? But I ain't got nowhere to go, so they're being forced to join movements that they don't fully want to support because they don't agree with the negativity. So I'm going to come with the movement where, yes, we're going to do our thing as the American African people and still link up with the general race.
So you have a solution. Your solution based in your approach to it. Because I know you see it like me. I'm new on Twitter. And just getting on Twitter, some of the ideas they throw around, I'm like, okay, I see where they going with. I see where they taking the culture. But here's the part of it that I don't find to be appealing. Is that 24 hours a day, there's a space going on. A space, for people who don't know, is on Twitter where you open up a room and you have these conversations. You bring people on stage and you have conversations among one another.
And they just going at it. Toxicity all day
long.
I can't support that crap.
There's a space of someone that's just arguing about, and again, it's amongst each other. No, you're Haitian. You don't have no right to be. And I'm saying,
you know what's crazy? All these labels didn't even exist before slavery.
Me as an innocent observer, I need them to understand that it's confusing. You know, you start to be like you said, it feels like toxic coming off of it a little bit. And so I hate that for the movement. But again, some of the stuff they throw around, like, hey, the debt is lineage specific. We want to make sure that foundational descendants of slaves get some of the money because y'all had 400 years of free labor.
So what does FBA actually advocate for? Because Umar's limited understanding reduces it to one sentence about reparations. The real platform, lineage-specific reparations, political non-alignment, specific legislative demands tied to the documented descendants of American chattel slavery. None of that comes up in this conversation. Also, a leaderless movement that doesn't organize itself into a group. Therefore, it becomes a umbrella. You can be FBA and also be Pan-African. That's a novel thought. I wonder if Umar's ever thought about the fact that you can do whatever the hell you want to do with your reparations after we get them. But what he also doesn't understand is about the intricacies of the United States in particular. If you tie your reparations claim to a race or to an ethnicity, it can be seen as discrimination. You see what I'm going here? Umar doesn't even understand that because his idea of being Africans supersedes any logic that he's actually putting into this. So therefore, his acronym, DAFA, it misses the point. And there's an emphasis on the American part of it in this particular case because America is the focus for this particular group at this moment. There's no saying that you can't go after the British crown at some point, although they've seen better days. I'm just going to say the country is running at a deficit. They've got a lot of issues over there. So if you, Dr. Umar, are hanging all your claims on going after the British Empire for repair, for its participation in slavery and colonization all across the globe, you might be missing the boat. No pun intended. He's critiquing a movement that he's actually never taken the time or had the respect to actually look at and research. And you can tell right by this interview, he's speaking as if he doesn't have the information, right? Anybody that's been paying attention for the past few years could see this. But to the untrained eye and the untrained ear, or somebody who just wants to benefit from this without actually being rightfully part of the claim, he sounds like an intellectual. He sounds like somebody who knows what's going on. His big critique of FBA and ADOS is that they direct more vitriol at African immigrants than white supremacy. That's the charge. It's a serious charge, actually, if you can back it up. What proof do you have that the whole lineage shares these views? I personally don't share these views. I understand completely what it is to have this position, to actually have a reparations claim and still embrace Africans all across the diaspora. It's not personal. This is business. It's no feel-good coalition that's going to get this done. In fact, if you're so critical of us, why weren't you ever critical of CARICOM, which precedes both of these groups, that actually is a reparations group that is looking to get reparations specifically for people of Caribbean descent? Dr. Umar, you don't have anything to say about that. It's not convenient. It's not as popular, is it? For some reason, you don't see that as xenophobia. You don't see that as vitriolic. This is bad, Dr. Umar. You're just dropping your opinions with no facts, no receipts, nothing. And look, I get the underlying concern that the intra-community conflict gets more energy than systemic racism. It's a real conversation worth having, but you don't get to make the argument by gesturing vaguely at drama on Twitter or X and calling that the whole movement. That's not a critique. That's your feelings. That's how you feel. The main part that really gets me is his solution to two movements he hasn't researched is to launch a third movement he also hasn't researched, DAFA, Descendants of African Freedmen in America. He swaps foundational Black American for American Freedmen. I like the freedmen terminology somewhat because it does have history in this country. But if you understand that we are talking about the same group, does it really matter if we include that one word? But so now Dr. Umar has his acronym and he declared himself stronger than both groups combined. How? By going on a couple podcasts, you're stronger than all these groups? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out here. Like, there's no way you think that. You really understand that, especially given your history, like without completion of this book. Like, you were just in the news recently for allegedly finishing the school finally. And by finishing the school, I mean getting the HVAC done that you said on the Breakfast Club in 2014 and cleaning up. Picking up some trash. Why couldn't you pick up the trash this whole time, Dr. Umar? That's what I'm saying here. Do we want somebody in charge of our reparations claim who don't even know how to clean up the property that he has? What's that old song? Sweep around your door before you try to sweep around mine. You don't have any organizational framework. You don't even have any organizational framework for the school. Like, where's your staff? Where are all the people that are supporting this staff? You just got people giving you donations. And that is a shame at this point. You just come through, you drop a name on us, and we're supposed to just believe you because you're confident. I'm stronger than both of them groups put together. That line is the whole video in one sentence. Think about what that actually means. Stronger how? By what metric? He has no members to count. He has no members, no platform. Dr. Umar doesn't even have a YouTube channel. Somebody else is uploading clips of him from his Instagram. He has no track record now to point to. He's stronger in the same way a building's blueprint is to two actual buildings that already exist. This building exists in his head, which means it can never be scrutinized. It can never be wrong. And it never has to do any of the hard work of actually organizing people. Look at that. But this is what happens when somebody shoots their loud mouth off in the room and mistakes the fact that they're popular on platforms, on podcasts. They mistake that for actually being a competent leader. He sees two movements with real platforms, real policy demands, real community debates, and instead of engaging with it, pushing back against it maybe, instead of helping them towards the goal of reparations, he decides the problem is in the branding because he feels like it'll offend his audience of Pan-Africanists. That's crazy, man. The truth is, as someone who's listened to Dr. Umar for years, the unfortunate thing is that when it comes to this, he's not a serious person, right? He's not thinking politically. He's caught up in this performance of this character. And it's always the same. It's the preacher antics. It's the repeating things 3 times. And he gets you to somehow believe what he's talking about. When in fact, in the past few years, it hasn't been pretty. He's been more of a laughingstock than anything. And I kind of enjoyed Dr. Umar going on platforms and talking about snow bunnies never, black queens forever, things like that. That seems to be his wheelhouse. And I wish he would understand that. Instead of criticizing things that are actually moving the conversation forward, whether they be flawed or not, they're moving the conversation forward. Anyway, all this confidence, all this bluster. He's not looking like a scholar now. He's looking like somebody who figured out that black political spaces will reward a loud preacher-themed speaker over laser accuracy on delineation of what this group really is. Anyway, Dr. Umar, next time you talk about this subject, you better do a lot of homework. And I'm saying, because your arrogance ain't going to get you through this. People have been really talking about these points and drilling them and actually debating them. All that stuff that you call vitriol out there is people actually discussing this and slightly incrementally pushing the conversation forward. And unfortunately, you've been too busy to even notice that that's what's been going on here. But hopefully you know now. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments if you like this video. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification for all uploads. Make sure you sign up to the Faucette Media Patreon. There's going to be a lot of content over there. I got big plans for the Patreon. Like, that might become the main hub at a certain point. So y'all better get on it right now. Sign up for the Patreon at this QR code right here. This is Faucette Media.